What is up, everybody? Welcome to Apocalypse Movies. We're back here to review Creed 2, the new Michael B. Jordan starring boxing film, part of the Rocky franchise. I'm Jacob Bartley. This is Jake Berlin. I saw the film a couple days ago. I think I saw it on Friday.
I saw it the night it came out.
Not Friday. I did see it Thursday night.
I saw it the night it came out, and then I also saw it again on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. It came out on Wednesday. So, I was excited for this film. I'm not like... Honestly, I think you were more excited. It wasn't one of my most anticipated. It probably wasn't in my top 10 or anything like that. Maybe.
Nuts.
Probably in my top 20, most anticipated this year. But I really was looking forward to it, honestly. And I think part of it was that Ryan Coogler wasn't directing this film.
That's fair.
I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure. I don't know the director.
I've never seen any of his work before.
And I can't trust him if I've never seen anything.
So Collider Live, which is the new Collider show that they do, he was actually on there.
Okay.
And he went to film school with Ryan Coogler. And
really?
Coogler told the studio,
recommended
call this
him?
guy. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I know Sylvester Stallone wouldn't approve anybody if he didn't like them, because he had to approve Ryan Coogler.
Yeah, he wrote the script, and he was originally going to direct the movie, but then he moved on.
I'm kind of glad they got a different director.
Exactly, I agree.
I really enjoyed this movie, and it's actually directed really well.
Yes, it is, and it keeps in the same style that Ryan Coogler kept with Stephen Cable Jr.'s own stamp on it in times. Stallone would have veered very far from what Coogler does as a director.
Oh, for sure.
And so having Cable Jr. come on and do this, it feels similar, but it also feels very fresh and different at the same time. Absolutely.
I did feel that, because one thing I enjoy about the first Creed is it kind of makes you feel like you're watching this sporting event in the real world, to how you have the media stuff and the meetings and the weigh-ins and everything like that. I loved how it felt like we were watching a real boxing match.
Yes.
And the build up to it.
I could not agree more with you.
And they do it again in Creed. And the thing that adds the extra element to it is the Drago stuff, because
so good.
It captured what do people love in sports, just like movies and stuff, is drama. They want drama, and I love the setup, and I forget the character's name, but the guy who set up the whole thing.
Oh, it's Marcel.
Such a snake.
Yeah,
that guy. He went into Russia, to Ukraine, to recruit him, and the way they set that whole thing up, and I felt like this was kind of realistic in a way, to where they want the most dramatic thing possible, and I can only imagine if Rocky and Creed and were real real boxers in our sports world. We would see this in real life. Can you imagine what it would be like if this was real?
It would be absolutely insane because of what happened. And if you have never seen Rocky 4, shame on you for one. But it's been out for a long time. Specifically because Drago killed Apollo, and it doesn't have effect just because it's Creed versus Drago, but because Adonis is his bastard son.
Exactly,
basically.
yeah.
And so he has to feel like he proves himself, but he also feels like he has to revenge his father, and pay due to his mother, who lost her husband. And there's so many elements. And obviously Rocky, because Rocky didn't throw in the towel in the movie, he wants to help Rocky and kind of defeat this guy and shut them up. And there's so many different elements that make it an emotional impact. And it was done beautifully. It was done so well.
Yes, so probably my biggest positive, because it surprised me, is the way they handled the Dragos, because that was my biggest worry going into the film. I thought you could have easily made them the cliche Russian villains, and they kind of at first set it up like that.
The very beginning
they make you seem like Ivan's a douche, and I mean he is to some extent, but they're going through their own struggles and their own pain.
He has a reason to be a douche.
They lost their mother, and his whole family name got ruined because Rocky beat him in Russia.
Yep.
So the way they set that whole thing up was actually done really well. And I know the actor or the fighter who plays Victor Drago is not a real actor.
No.
He's a UFC fighter, right?
He is, and he was given very few lines, and they were very stale in those lines, but also it works because he's Russian.
Exactly.
It's nothing against that culture at all, but that's the way they talk. We come from a different
culture.
That's the way it feels to us.
Exactly.
And so it makes sense in the role. As far as a fighter, that guy is scary, man.
He's scary.
It is ridiculous how big he is.
I was thinking, I know it's fiction, but I was like, there's no way Creed can beat this guy. There's no way.
It is so cool to watch because it felt very Rocky for Stallone, or Rocky is a very small fighter. He was always considered a small fighter, and Drago came in, he was towering, he was huge. This is truly an outmatched fight, and the story was done really well to the fact that he had to learn to fight a different way to beat him.
Exactly.
it played out so well.
Yeah, I did like that, but probably, and I know it's a nitpick and you have to suspend belief a little bit, but for me, my biggest negative was like, there is no way they're in the same weight class and that the World Boxing Federation would let them fight each other.
Yeah, I wonder...
and they didn't even mention it in the movie.
Like, yeah, it is interesting. I don't know how the boxing
yeah.
rules work, but Adonis is a heavyweight. And I don't know how heavy you have to be or if there's like a max weight or whatever. But he's a heavyweight, and if that's the highest class, then it does make sense.
I think, what is welterweight?
I don't know. I don't know.
See, we don't know our boxing.
Yeah, I don't really know.
Tell.
I'm not a huge fighting person, just for the movie aspect. But if it is just a heavyweight class, it makes sense.
No, I think they would be in different weight classes.
It would seem they would.
When they stand next to each other, you can tell. But the thing for me where I'm okay with, like, they made it seem believable when he beat him at the end because
that fight
he's bigger and he started to slow down.
The fight is incredible.
It's amazing.
It's so every part of this movie, there was something so cool about it with what Stephen Caple Jr. did with it. And there's a lot more fights in this movie. You get the opening one with Drago, then you get the Ricky Wheeler fight with Creed in the very beginning where he won the championship.
That.
It was a really cool setup. He won the championship to begin with, and then he had a fight with Drago almost immediately
so
afterwards.
At first I was like, is this movie really short?
Yeah. I know, and so they had that fight.
Damn, this is like an hour, 20-minute movie.
In spoilers, we didn't mention at the beginning. We're going to touch a little bit on spoilers here.
We kind of did.
Yeah, and so he loses to Drago in their mind in the second fight, but Drago got disqualified. He hit him on the ground, so Adonis still has the championship, which I personally really liked because I didn't want to see the cliche thing where he lost the championship and then won it back at the end.
That was perfect.
It was such a cool twist.
And it makes sense because the type of fighter that Drago is, he couldn't control his emotions and he got disqualified.
And I believe they teased it in his opening fight where he hit someone on the ground in Russia, and they did again to Adonis, knocked him out. He had to come through this whole thing.
But they're probably not as strict out there. Yeah.
And then the final fight, all the fights were done beautifully. For me, there was still a missing Coogler element to each fight. I loved every fight in montage, like the training montages. I was so into. I was so invested on what they were doing with it, and so just pumped up with what I was watching. But I kept going back to what they were doing with the first Creed as far as how Coogler directed it.
Yeah.
And I keep going back to that tracking shot he did in the first Creed. And I wanted something like that on the fight scenes, even though the choreography in this movie was much better.
Yeah.
All the punch, the fighting aspect of it was so much better in this movie because they focused solely on the punching side of it. But I felt like there was this Coogler stamp that was just missing. But again,
I know what you
it's
mean.
not a Coogler
I can't
movie.
Explain it, but there was
a
Coogler thing
small
missing,
thing that was just not there.
And that's why I slightly give the edge to the first one.
I give the edge to the first one as well. Yeah.
But I think the director had a bigger challenge in the second one dealing with the Dragos. Honestly, considering that, they both did a phenomenal job.
If you think about it, he not only had to basically bring the Dragos from Rocky IV and kind of give that a good story to make us invested. He also had to pick up from Ryan Coogler and what he did with the first Creed,
which is
as
such
far
a
as
huge success.
Rocky with cancer. You have Bianca, and then you throw in the whole pregnancy thing with them getting married. He had such a big task on his hands.
I love that proposal scene.
Oh,
that was
so
awesome.
Good. And how he's talking to Rocky before, and he's like, they still do that shit? Like dropping on a knee and everything?
So other than the Dragos, probably my other favorite part is the relationship between Rocky and Adonis. It's really good. And best part is when he's asking him for advice about the proposal. Yes. And he really it seems like authentic uncle-nephew relationship. Really does.
Sylvester Stallone and Michael B. Jordan have such a great relationship.
They really do.
They were both producers on this movie, and so they had a really good relationship with each other as well with director Stephen Caple Jr. You can tell it's real life. Mm-hmm. The one scene that I look for, the pregnancy one, the one I look at is when they're walking down the hallway to the birth of his child.
Oh,
when they're hugging and they're talking. That scene,
isn't that right after they made up?
Yes. It feels so real.
And then when they're in the trophy room too.
Yes, that's that whole sequence.
It's so good, yeah.
It's what the movie hinges off of. Yeah. And it's what the first movie hinged off as well, but it also, at the same time, it makes sure that we know this is no longer Rocky's story. This is now Adonis' Creed story. And
the end of the movie did that so well. Mm-hmm. And so the end of the movie when, forget the actor's name, Milo something plays his son.
Yes, from This Is Us.
Yeah.
He did it in Rocky Balboa.
That's what I was going to say, because they didn't just bring that in randomly. He was his son before. And I love that ending of the film when he goes to see his son. That's perfect.
And countering different shots when Adonis is at Apollo's grave. with
that
his
was
daughter.
perfect, and I love the dialogue where he says, "I didn't do it for you, I didn't do it for them," and it shows the Dragos running at the end. Like,
I love seeing him run with his son too.
Dude,
it shows that he's changed.
The Dragos, like I got the chills right now, honestly, thinking about that scene, because it's like they took so much time to develop those characters. They really did.
Dude, they're coming back,
and it's awesome.
They got to come back now.
So I want to ask, we obviously really liked the movie, but what did you have any major flaws with it?
Major flaws? No. The one flaw, it's not really a flaw, it's more of a nitpick, is the Kluger thing. Like, I missed his stamp, but at the same time, I have to realize it's not his movie. This is Cable Jr.'s movie, and it's my fault because I don't have a prior experience with his work.
True,
but I watched that interview with him, and he kept saying, I tried to find as many spots, but as little as spots possible to throw my stamp on it without overwhelming the movie. And that's on me for not knowing his stamp and realizing what he does as a director.
Yeah. I'm curious because there's a few things that were handled differently, and I'm wondering, there's a lot of things I enjoyed where I'm not sure if that's his own flavor.
Exactly. So as far as major flaws, no, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It is one of my favorites of the year. I put it on my ranking last night, and I kept moving it up and up and up.
Really?
And I'm still questioning where I'm going to put it, but it's definitely going to be up there at the end of the year.
Okay.
This is easily one of my favorite franchises right now. I love what they're doing with Michael B. Jordan's character. I love what they're doing with Bianca. And they're it's not just a boxing movie, it's a real drama. Like, what they do with these characters and how they put them through obstacles, not just inside the ring, but all these things that are going on around them. And it's really interesting, but it also makes me sad because of what can happen in the next movie if they do one. Because it could lead to something that I don't want to see.
Where did they go boxing-wise, though?
Boxing-wise, I feel like they're going to pick up a few years down the road. Adonis he's done his thing a couple times. He's defended the belt 3, 4, 5, 6 times in a couple years.
Maybe he has to fight some new young hotshot or something.
Or someone he made new growing up or something. Yeah. And then I don't
know how you bring the drama to the boxing again.
I feel like Rocky's gonna bite the dust, man.
I mean, at some point he has to. Bite the dust. And the thing is, they could not show it on screen. Like, they could end the franchise with this next movie and have Rocky not die.
Honestly, in a way, this movie could easily wrap it up as well. Like, it could have easily wrapped it up as well.
To be honest, it does feel like kind of a perfect ending. It could have.
Like, if they never did one again, it's a satisfying ending.
It really is.
It's a very satisfying
ending.
Is, but there's a way you can do it again. And the way that you would possibly kill off Rocky is his cancer comes back. Like, his cancer comes back, it destroys Adonis, and maybe something happens where Bianca officially loses her hearing, or it's like total drama, scales out, and then some hotshot young fighter, or people have been throwing around the possibility of like Clubber Lang's son coming in or whatever. But there's definitely a way that you can go either way with this franchise.
Yeah, for sure. My biggest negatives were probably like how they didn't even acknowledge the weight difference. Like, they talked about how much bigger he is than him, but as far as like the boxing rules and what they actually allow, they didn't even mention that. Yeah. I wish they would have just thrown it in there somehow.
I was so invested
in some explanation of how they would let them fight.
I was just so invested in seeing them beat the living crap out of each other.
Yeah,
like, I didn't care.
Yeah,
like, really didn't care.
And then, I don't know, I feel like Adonis was a little too stubborn. Like, he was not hearing it from anybody. Nobody could tell him anything. And I guess that's his flawed character, which is,
that was Rocky at times though too, because
that's true.
In the beginning of the movie, Rocky said, "I don't want you going through the mistakes that I made."
Yeah,
and it kind of he did. He made a little bit of mistakes,
like his father too.
Exactly.
So it makes sense, but overall, obviously, we really enjoyed the movie. I liked it a lot. You loved it.
So good.
It's gonna be in my top 15-ish. I don't know about top 5, but it's definitely in my top 15 area. Yeah,
it's gonna be.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Better than Mission Impossible.
I'm not going to say that yet.
Because that's your number 2 movie.
So I thought about it after on my way home from the movie watching it. I thought to myself, I go, okay, come December, I'm going to make sure I have all of these movies on Blu-ray. I'm going to watch them back to back to back to back to really make sure I know where they go.
Because a lot of times we only watch them once and then rank them, and it's kind of not fair in a way.
It's also fun. Imagine watching Mission Impossible, Avengers, Creed, Ready Player One, all these movies back to back.
I really want to watch Mission Impossible again, but we'll talk about it at the end of the year. All right, well, that's going to wrap up our, I guess, spoiler discussion of Creed 2. I'm glad you liked it, man. I love seeing other people so excited about a movie, because then it makes me want to watch it again.
I could go watch this movie a couple more times, to be honest.
Well, I'm Jacob Bartley. This is Jake Berlin. We are Apocalypse Movies. Check us out. We do a whole bunch of other stuff here on this channel. Let us know in the comment section what you thought of Creed 2. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks again for watching.